Hello and welcome to Where Do We Begin? My name's Alex Woodward, currently happily retired and friendly neighbourhood mortgage broker. I'm really looking forward to this podcast. It's been a long time coming.
Thanks for that, Alex, and hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Where Do We Begin? My name is Harper, in the studio today with my co-host, Lockie. How are you, Lockie?
I'm great, thanks, Harps, and it's great to see your face sitting across from me.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this one. Who have we got on?
I've got Alex Woodward, and this is a great story. I've learned a lot from it in terms of remaining positive in tough situations and about resilience. It's awesome to hear, and I think everybody's going to really enjoy it.
Yeah, you know it's going to be an absolute belter every time we're in the studio here. It always produces the goods. But one quick note for you, the listener, especially if you are a new listener, every time that you notice throughout this podcast that you are enjoying it and you think it's a good podcast, you think it's a good episode, it's good content, this free service that we're giving you, that we make no money, it's completely independent. Please think about how you can support the show. We already know that you know all the ways to support it. So if you can support it, we'd appreciate that so much. Lockie, should we just get into it now? I've said that.
Let's dive in.
All right, now this guest story is one of persistence, resilience, determination and perseverance. And I've got to say, Lockie, I've been looking forward to this one and doing some serious study of my thesaurus in preparation for this one for a long time, because I reckon we might have broken a world record for emails sent to each other before recording it. But anyway, I'm delighted to say we're welcoming onto the show today Alex Woodward. How are you, Alex?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thanks for having me. Long time coming.
It's an absolute pleasure. And speaking of perseverance, I think we all had to persevere a bit, football injuries, allergic reactions, but we're here now. And you know what they say, Alex, treat them mean, keep them keen. And we are real keen for this interview.
No, I'm just as keen. So I'm glad you guys persevered over email just as I did. But no, it's an honour to be a guest, so I'm pretty happy, mate.
There were some plans to record this from the hospital ward, I've got to say. But we're in the studio. It's good to be back in the studio. First one since Liam Pickering. But anyway, Alex, we'll kind of get started. Start where it all began, I guess. Your early life. Your dad's from Freo and your mum's Filipino, I believe. But you grew up around Melbourne. You're a Melbourne boy. So
yeah, I am.
Tell us a bit about your footy life early growing up.
Yeah, so you've hit the nail on the head there with some insights about my family. So yeah, dad's a WA boy through and through. From Fremantle, grew up around that area. My mum's Filipino, so she's from overseas, obviously. So, but once they had their first child, which was me, they moved over to Melbourne and settled in nicely. And we found a home suburb around the Springvale Noble Park area. And then, did my schooling through there, Dingley as well. Primary school, majority of the time in Springvale, and then high school was at Mazenod College, which is in Mulgrave, which was just a bus ride away. So I primarily grew up in Noble Park through my adolescence, and that's where my sporting career started as well with my junior footy. A lot of the other sporting things that I did as well, touched base on. Played a bit of basketball, baseball, that sort of stuff. I wasn't too good at them, picked up footy and ran with that. But very much the definition of a Melbourne kid, probably southeast, and then now living Bayside way. But that's a quick snapshot of why I'm probably a Victorian lad, and pretty happy to be so.
No, we love that, and we love another person from the southeast. We love it down there. It's absolutely a beautiful spot, and Noble Park is an absolute football stronghold. A lot of talent coming out of there. But you mentioned that you played a couple of different sports, basketball, baseball, which I'm interested in. Not too many play baseball, very American. But why football? What really caught your eye there with the sport?
Yeah, so I did play quite a few sports. So I played a little bit of basketball at school. Wasn't any good, so don't recruit you into our Wednesday night teams. don't look into that one too much. And then I played a couple of years of baseball because I found that sport seemed really fun to watch. Just I suppose on TV and that sort of stuff. But probably tennis and footy were the main two that I delved into and put a lot of time into, and probably had to make the decision at 16. So I dropped tennis, but football was primarily a passion of mine. Due to just the way that you're brought up, especially in my years when I was younger, all your heroes and stuff tended to be on TV, and they tended to wear a footy jersey. So even though I was a Fremantle supporter growing up, which not too many of them in Noble Park, but always wanted to be out on the footy field growing up, and very lucky that came to fruition.
Yeah, now, skipping ahead a few years, I hear you've got a pretty interesting draft night story about how you found out you got drafted, listening to a couple other podcasts. So do you want to go through that for us? It's a bit of a funny one, I heard.
It's nothing special, but I think it'd be more common than not with a lot of players getting drafted in the later picks. But my draft night was very much up in the air. I had a lot of interviews with a lot of clubs, which was very flattering. I think my draft camp was a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest, if I was looking into it a little bit with my testing results, but I just didn't know where I was going to land, which clubs were really genuinely interested in, and then I was lucky enough to go at Hawthorn at pick 53. However, look, I pulled the pin at around pick 40, so I went to bed. Dad was probably three beers deep and still excited. Probably didn't know what pick it was. And then he was the one in the lounge room yelling me to come back out and look at the screen with my little head there next to the Hawthorn logo at pick 53. So very, very, very happy. Phone definitely went off straight away with a lot of future teammates and schoolmates as well, just hitting me up and making sure that they congratulate me first, which was a very special night in the scheme of things, and something that I still hold dear to my heart.
Yeah, it's an awesome story, and I think it's sort of like similar. Remember we had Ryan Angwood on the show, and I think when he got drafted, he was having a chalky milk in the fridge, out from the fridge in the kitchen when he got drafted. But no, that's an awesome story, and it's just funny that you weren't expecting it, and you must have been so nervous. But just leading in, how was your first few days at the club after getting drafted and that first pre-season?
Yeah, you're definitely right. I was very nervous prior to the draft, but I just knew that if I was picked up by any club, that it was basically going to be a clean slate from there. So I'm was very much a believer, still am, that the pick that you get drafted at is very much just a number. So everyone starts on the same playing field once they enter the door. As an 18-year-old at a new footy club. So I just wanted to make a really good impression as a hard worker, wanting to learn, and I made sure that I did that right from day dot, I think. So hopefully that was the impression that I gave, but I was very eager, very keen to learn, didn't want to be too shy around the playing group.
Yeah, and you kind of have that first pre-season, or pre-season training, you're going pretty well, I hear, and then first pre-season game, kind of bit of a disaster, I think, against the Giants in Launceston. First of a few ACLs, so that's just got to be heartbreaking in your first game. Not a home and away season game, but first proper pre-season game. Yeah, definitely heartbreaking, because I suppose up until that point, as an 18-year-old, never really been exposed to a pre-season properly. And if I was being brutally honest, I don't think I applied myself too well at under 18s when it came to little things like gym. I just played footy, to be honest. Went out, had a crack, and then hopefully helped the team win when I was 18. So definitely was exposed to a lot more, which obviously impacted performance when it came to the AFL system. But loved it, loved every bit of it, loved that it was my profession, something I got paid to do because I was very much passionate about AFL footy. So when I was 18, that first pre-season, yes, it was hard, but it was tapered to what I was exposed to as well, which was not very much leading up into it. But still attacked everything with a really good intensity and desire to get the most out of it. Luckily enough, was picked to play, that first NAB Cup game, sorry. And didn't go too well. I did my first ACL in a tackle. I got tackled, 5 minutes into the game. But what I remember most was that I was lining up first centre bounce with some pretty special players. So even though 5 minutes in, I broke down, I still remember the feeling prior to the game, and then that first bounce. Still very, very grateful for the fact that I was picked. Yes, it didn't really go to plan, but I was still able to touch the footy and get a taste of what it was like to play an AFL game, even though it was just a NAB Cup game.
Yeah, mate, it's obviously horrible that you had to go through that injury, especially, I guess, early, but it's obvious that you must have done something right in pre-season to earn a NAB Cup game. I'm interested, though, did you have much of an injury history before coming onto the AFL, or during your junior years you pretty much, or you didn't have too many issues?
I think under 16s I did have a meniscus tear in my knee, which not related at all to the ACL tears. So that's something that I was really adamant about, and a lot of my scans throughout my ACL injuries show that my meniscus surgery is still the one that's intact. So from 16, all these ACL surgeries were, I suppose, bad luck and very much new injuries. Something that I wasn't really prepared for. So that my injury history prior to all these ACL injuries were very much clean, I'd say. No bone breaks, no soft tissues, nothing like that. So that's why when that first ACL injury came along, I didn't really know what had happened. So I kept playing for another 5-10 minutes and then jogged off. It was one of those innocuous ACL tears where I didn't find out till the Monday because it didn't hurt too much. It very much felt funny. But I was also compensating for the fact that I tore ligaments in my ankle in that same tackle. So I think I was offsetted by that pain and then came off telling the trainers that, my knee feels a bit funny as well. And then they did some testing on that knee, and that was probably the thing that ruled me out of the rest of the game.
Yeah, and we did a bit of reading of your blog, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes, which people can check out.
Hopefully the grammar's all right.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good stuff, so I encourage people to check it out. And I read in that you kind of took on this mentality of studying other midfielders. You had your own kind of little diary of like notes to take on other midfielders to adapt your game, and you're just 18 years old, so that's a pretty amazing mentality to have. I know there's no way I'd have the maturity to do that. I'm 18 as well, so like that mentality is just pretty amazing.
I think it was, probably goes hand in hand with the concept of how passionate I was with the game. I was very much a believer of being a student of the game, even though I wasn't necessarily playing. I still wanted to come back, which is kind of a strange mindset to have at 18, but I wanted to come back better than what I was prior to the injury. And by doing this logbook or a notebook of studying a player each round in the AFL from the opposition team, highlighting their attributes, especially their stronger side of their game, and something that I could maybe adapt to my game moving forward. Look, I'm not the perfect player, but if I found something that I really liked and something that made them an elite player, hopefully I could over time adapt that to my game moving forward as well. So, look, it's probably not for everyone writing that notebook, but that's what I did, and it helped me week in, week out. I suppose I was in rehab every week, so it gave me something to do.
And just quickly, for people who might not know, what kind of player were you? I know you're starting at centre bounce in that game, but on ball, yeah?
Yeah, very much a ruck rover, so one that gets under the packs and works hard to get it out for my teammates.
Yeah, I love that. And it's interesting how you're talking about how you're taking notes on each sort of player that you came up against, because obviously, as Harper touched on it a little bit before, you've been writing a blog and you sort of journaled like your journey over the last couple of years. Do you think that writing your thoughts down and what you were going through really helped you get through the rehabilitation? Because I think with like mental health and stuff like that, people are saying like writing down your thoughts and feelings is really been beneficial for people that are going through tough times. Do you think that is something that really benefited you while going through the rehabilitation?
Yeah, subconsciously, yeah. So that blog page that I do now, look, I don't really do it too much. I'm very occupied by work and other things, but it is very much a memoir and my sort of memories of what it was like going through rehab and my experiences playing in the AFL system. But subconsciously at 18, I'd say that it helped me get through rehab very much so, because I was studying the game in an aspect or in a way that not too many 18-year-olds would. And it definitely helped me become a better player as well. So subconsciously, it was probably helping my mental health now that I'm more aware about mental health and the impacts of writing things down or just speaking out loud rather than bottling things up. I'd still very much do the same approach if I got injured and I was in the AFL system now. I'd definitely, still write things down and be open with conversations as well.
Yeah, I think this kind of whole thing of writing your thoughts down is... especially kind of in the past, not so much now, but it's considered very girly, very feminine to do. So it's kind of good to challenge the notion of masculinity, I guess, and do the thing that's really going to actually improve your mental health, even though you might look not so macho, kind of writing your thoughts down. And like you said, your blog's really good, and that notebook you're taking is really good.
Yeah, I think there's strength in being vulnerable. So if you let people in, they have a greater understanding of what you're going through. In hindsight, you also give them the ability to understand what it's like to be on the other side of things as well. So, I'm a mental health advocate. I'm definitely not perfect in every aspect though, but I'm a big believer in supporting your mental health and making sure that that's at the forefront of your well-being.
Yeah, 100%. I think vulnerability is definitely encouraged a lot more now, especially over the last couple of years, and there's a lot more greater support. And I think what you're touching on, Bill, I think toxic masculinity it's definitely decreasing, and people are becoming more aware as they've realised the impact that males have, and that they've got a lot of mental health issues. And I guess going back to your injuries, like something that I'm interested in about is like, what is actually the rehabilitation like from an ACL? Because it's 12 months, and I think a lot of people, you see somebody get injured, you feel sorry for them, and then 6 months, 12 months later, they're back out on the field, and you don't actually realise the mountain of work that has gone into you getting back out there. It's sort of like, they're back on. So could you please give us a little bit of details of what actually goes into each one? Because I can imagine it is a mountain of work.
Yeah, it is. It is a mountain of work. But it's, I wouldn't be able to do it without a really good team behind me. So the medical staff, the rehab staff, strength and conditioning as well. So yes, they were challenging me, and I vice versa was challenging them as well. Obviously, having been through this injury so many times, it's always good to have variety because there is a lot of repetition in the rehab. But yeah, once it's a lot of the unseen that probably doesn't get noticed, and it's only yourself that sort of memorises just how hard you've been working behind the scenes. But once you're out there, like you said, the boys probably don't understand just how hard you've been working. But credit to Hawthorn, they definitely got around me, and they understood the fact that not only have I done this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, they understand the mountain of work that I did as well. So. I was pretty cheerful in the fact that once I was around the club, I didn't want to be, too down or sorry for myself, and I didn't want people to feel sorry for me either. There's worse things in life, and the fact that I was still around a really successful environment, a really successful group of guys, I didn't want to take away from the fact that I was in a lucky position in the scheme of things as well. Yeah,
and I know your second ACL, you were coming off a pretty good pre-season. You're in a match sim, I believe, and second time around, it sounds like you were surrounded by like a really supportive bunch of guys, successful group, like you were saying. So it's got to kind of, did you feel that you were in a kind of fortunate situation? Obviously not fortunate doing your ACL, but being at such a kind of supportive and elite environment where you've got the physios and the doctors and all this stuff that can check on you constantly?
Definitely. I think Hawthorn at the time and still now are very much a leading organisation when it comes to rehab, and their medical staff are very much working towards putting players back out on the track better than what they were before. So I was very lucky in that sense. My second ACL was a bit of a different one in the scheme of things compared to all my other ones, purely because I played on instinct in that match sim. So I didn't really compensate for the fact that I was just coming off an ACL. So it was very much a learning experience for me, thinking that, I was just your average player when really I needed to have the understanding that maybe my right knee was a little bit weaker than my left one, especially 9-10 months post-surgery. So to play with just free will like that was great, because I did do a mountain of work, but I just needed to have a little bit of greater understanding that I probably shouldn't be doing some certain manoeuvres out on the field just yet. But all learning experience. I was only 19, so I was pretty eager to jump back in rehab once that happened and go again.
Yeah, I think we can completely understand how keen you would have been to get out there, and it is Hawthorn. It is a great organisation, and they were particularly that period, and I'm sure that, as you said, they supported you a lot. But was it difficult in the fact that throughout that time they were having so much success on field, grand finals from 2012 to 2015, 3 premierships in a row, and you constantly were missing out? Was it ever hard to feel up and about for your teammates, given the fact that you couldn't get out there and play and experience that same success?
I wouldn't say it was hard. I suppose there was a little bit of jealousy in the fact that I couldn't be out there and put my hand up. I was very much constrained to the fact that I was in rehab, so it wasn't really an opportunity for me to be out there with the 22 on grand final day. But again, I'll revert back to the fact that I'm very much lucky to be a part of that group on the list during that dynasty. So sometimes I get asked the question, would you rather have played 100 so games elsewhere and miss out on, and not be injured and miss out on that dynasty period where Hawthorn were generating so much success? My answer to that usually is my apprenticeship at Hawthorn is probably second to none. So I'm pretty happy with the career that I had there, the games that I played, and the time spent there as well.
And the game is more than just, you know, how many games AFL football played. I'm sure the friendships and the relationships that you built at the time at the club and the skills and life skills that you learnt is as beneficial as it would be, rewarding as it would be to be a 100-game AFL player.
Absolutely. I think the relationships built there during that time, and look, I still have really strong relationships with a lot of players and staff post-career now. Very fortunate to have spent that time there for sure.
Yeah, what I'm really interested in, obviously you're a young guy, like 18, 19, doing your first couple of ACLs, and you've spent far more time in rehab than you actually have out on the training track and out on the field. So I feel like it'd be pretty hard not to feel like you're kind of not to the side and not fully part of the team because you're an onlooker basically for your whole first few seasons. So did you have those kind of feelings going on in your head?
I wouldn't say so, no, especially early on. Maybe later on when I did my third one, purely because I was a little bit over it, and I had a couple of seasons where I was back playing footy. I didn't really want to be back in the rehab room. But my first couple of ones, I had the mindset of, look, if you're coming into rehab, I'm there and good luck, basically. So I didn't want anyone else in the rehab group because I wanted them to be fit. I suppose, if I could set the standard there, I could sort of be a leader in that sort of space, even though I was 18, 19, 20. Make a bit of a hurt locker, so to speak. So, stay away from the rehab room and you wouldn't have to do sessions with me or run with me out there and fight your way back. But I had fun with it and tried to create concepts in my mind just so I could get distracted from the fact that, I've missed 24 months of footy in a row. I think I was very much focused on what was on the horizon rather than being too down on myself on the present. So,
That's a great attitude to have, and that real positive attitude. And obviously, we'll speak about some positive stuff, don't you worry. And now coming to you in 2014 and you make your AFL debut against the Sydney Swans, 72,000 would be a massive game. Would it be the first time Buddy was back at the MCG since he left to the Swans? So that would have been a massive game for the year. And how was it? How was your debut like, and what did it feel like to achieve that dream?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I felt so excited and just, I suppose, a sense of relief a little bit, but more excited than anything because I think part of the unseen, which we touched on before, was the fact that I did have a whole team of people behind me, medical staff, strength and conditioning, but also my family and friends, like off field as well. A lot of support base that wanted to see me succeed, and this single game was almost like a huge achievement in what I was aiming for. So to fight my way back from back-to-back ACLs when I was quite young, and then try and find some form at VFL and prove myself in the fact that I'm worthy of an AFL game. And then to be chosen for, a game that was pretty much against arch rivals at the time in that era, in front of, 70, 80,000. I was really excited, really honoured, and I didn't take it for granted. Look, I'll be honest in saying I didn't really have too much of an impact on the game. I didn't play too well, but I was just happy to be out there, and the boys got the win, and I was able to get in the circle in the middle after the game. So, my old man and my mum and my sister were probably the happiest for me as well.
And to be fair, it's probably hard to get in the game when you come in as a sub. Like, I don't think anyone's really like that rule. But
I'm glad they scrapped that for a while. Now they've got the medical sub. So.
Yeah, I know. Paul Connor Downey, he made his debut as the medical sub and didn't get on, then hasn't been seen since.
Does that count? As a game?
It counts as a game. Even if you don't get on, counts as a game. Yeah, but
Connor, I feel sorry for you, mate.
You were talking about being in the circle, singing the club song. Like, that has just got to be like pure elation.
Oh, absolutely.
Being in that circle, that's got to be the most amazing feeling.
Well, and the thing is, like I touched on before, like Hawthorn were really great in noticing the unseen as well, like the actual club and the players. Really got around you and wanted to buy into the fact that they noticed you're working so hard. So I could actually see some players absolutely elated for me, regardless of the performance and all that. Yes, we won, which was fantastic, but a lot were just genuinely happy with the fact that I was just out there and got a game, which was nice.
And there are pictures of your dad off to the side belting out the song as well.
I love that.
It's got to be.
I reckon he had maybe 3 or 4 beers that night.
It's really special for you, but it'd be so special for him. Like kind of seeing you go through all this stuff, like raising you as a kid, obviously being this kid in love with footy, and then going through all the hard times you did, and then getting to this kind of amazing point, like the pinnacle of your career so far.
Absolutely. And like I said, ACL that first time was just a foreign sort of acronym or injury to us, so we didn't know what it was. And then once we realised it was a 10 to 12 month injury, probably more 12 for an 18-year-old. And then to do it again at 19, so I had to call Dad straight away. I couldn't even hold myself together, so I gave my phone to Hodgie and he explained what had happened, and which was pretty daunting for him, but he managed it really well. And Dad understood this time just how hard the injury would be the second time around, but I was pretty optimistic anyway, which was, I suppose, blind passion at the time. But yeah, Dad was really, really excited because I was able to just string a few games at Box Hill without any injuries. So then he became calm. Same with Mum as well, just became calm and comfortable with the fact that, yep, okay, he's back. And then once, got the call for an AFL game, they were the first ones to be notified as well. So, I think they were probably just as excited as I was.
Did they do the old social media team where they call up the video you calling up your old man and mum?
Yeah. No, it was, I suppose social media was a little bit different back then. We didn't quite have those live phone call things.
I feel like it's a bit of a new thing.
But it was almost more of a feature.
Yeah.
It was like 3 parts. I did an interview with
the Alex Woodward story.
Yeah, Hawthorn Media, and then jumper presentation, and then interview after the game. So it was nice, and I really appreciate that Hawthorn really put a bit of time into the story behind the first game as well.
That sounds really special. And you played the next week, is that correct?
Yeah, played the next week. And look, maybe a bit better of a performance, but I was still adjusting to the game. I suppose, I wish I had more opportunity. Yeah. But I was understanding of the fact that, look, Hawthorn weren't really messing around. They were in a dynasty period leading up to finals, and I just needed to have a bit more impact during my games that I was given, and I didn't really have that impact. Yes, I took the game with both hands and tried my best, but like I said, I just needed to adjust a bit more, and that comes with time. I suppose it's very rare, and only the really special players tend to pick up the game from their first game and take it and run with it, really. And dominate and have an impact on the game, but unfortunately I couldn't do that. But that's all right. I was back to Box Hill and tried to have a crack there. Yeah,
he more than had to crack you on the Liston medal in 2014, which is listeners who don't know, it's
league best and fairest.
Yeah, like the Brownlow of the VFL, basically. And then
off 8 games.
JJ Liston, that's what it is.
JJ,
he's got the medal in the back pocket.
So that was a nice surprise. Again, reward for effort though. So. Wasn't expecting that. I think I got a late invite as well, so I wasn't really sure what was going on. I thought it was a bit of a joke, so ended up going for a free meal, and next minute I have to do a speech.
Lucky you rocked up. Hey, you got the call up for a Collingwood game in JLT in 2015, but on your blog you kind of said that nerves got the better of you a bit, and you probably didn't get much of a look in at the AFL side from there after that. So Have you got any kind of things that you would have changed in your mentality or regrets from that game and the build-up, I guess? I
just knew that game that was probably a really good opportunity because it was just a lot of young boys that were playing, very similar to a Box Hill side, to be honest, versus a really experienced Collingwood side. So it was an opportunity there, opportunity lost, and something that I admitted. But, another challenge that I was very much ready to face. I wouldn't be surprised if the coaches were a little bit turned off because I just didn't offer anything really substantial in that game. So back to the drawing board for me, and I needed to find some form and evolve my game in a way that really appealed to the AFL coaches, more than just a rover that didn't really utilise his possessions too well. So I did that. I tried to have more of an impact playing forward as the VFL season went on. But no real regrets. Otherwise, I wouldn't have developed into the player person that I am now. So, no longer a player, but still, I like to think that I'm a pretty good person. So all those experiences, all those challenges, hold me in good stead.
I think even then, with what you're saying, then I think something that throughout the whole interview, that's something I've just been able to pick up is you're not bitter at all. You have a really positive attitude, and for a lot of people in your situation, they'd find that really, really hard to do. I guess, how do you find to always be optimistic to really be positive? Because it's obvious that it'd rub off on other people, because it just makes me feel that whenever something goes hard with me, I want to be more positive with like dealing with adversity.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, I think look, I'll probably have to give my parents a shout out for that one. My old man was very much a hard worker, same as my mum as well. So, look, we tend to find the silver lining in things, the opportunities in pretty tough situations. So, and I think it's easy to feel down and focus on the negatives, but it's normal as well. So I embraced it. It was just more of a fact of, all right, well, what can I get out of this situation and how can I better myself? And yeah, I still use that focal point with my everyday living, with my work now. I do have my moments where I need to just take a breath and just remind myself that I'm human, and that's okay. So look, if I'm a beacon for positivity, then fantastic. But yeah, I'm also a human as well, and I have my negative times. But it's just a matter of how you deal with them and how you can get something out of it.
Yeah, you've got this amazing mentality, and I guess it wouldn't be bitterness, but was there ever a sense, or looking back on it now, is there ever a sense of kind of what could have been if you weren't at Hawthorn with like the best side in the comp, basically your whole career, with this amazing midfield? Instead, you were at a side where once you'd got into the AFL team, you could actually string a few games together without kind of getting pushed out by more experienced players? Yeah,
I think it's pretty natural to think the what if at times, everyday living. But I suppose in this footy footy career case, I'll sometimes think about what if I got drafted elsewhere? What if these injuries didn't happen? But again, I mentioned the apprenticeship. Look, I was very lucky to learn under Sam Mitchell, Jordan Lewis, Brad Sewell, Luke Hodge, Sean Burgoyne. These type of players are champions of our games, Hall of Famers, really. Would I have gotten that opportunity elsewhere? Probably not. Would I have been, the player that performed at a really good level at VFL, JJ Liston, all that sort of stuff? Probably not as well. So, I might have missed out on playing quite a few AFL games if I took that path. But also, I focus on the fact that I was very lucky to be on the path, injuries and all that aside, to be on that Hawthorn path as well. I think I would have embraced that career path a lot more.
Okay, so 2015, third ACL, and then were you delisted at the end of 2016 or 17?
Yeah. So that third ACL was tough because I felt like I was evolving as a player. As I touched on, I needed to find other ways to utilise my skills and put my name up in front of the coaches. And I was actually starting to play some impactful footy in a way that I was kicking goals at VFL level, something they'd never seen before. So my midfield and forward time was split 50-50. And it was just offering a lot more to, the number 39, which I wore at the time, rather than, okay, he's basically got to be a midfielder in our team. Well, now I can play a little bit of forward. Unfortunately, I broke down at Coburg, which is...
I did say that to Hans before.
Yeah. Where we are.
It's about venturing back here.
That's why it took so long for me.
Is there any kind of trauma associated with the word Coburg or anything in your head?
No. Not at all. But yeah, that was just unlucky. I think I got pushed after I kicked and my foot just got stuck in the ground. So one of those things that happens 100 times in footy, and it just happened to me at the wrong time, wrong spot on the field. So that third ACL was pretty tough. And then I got re-rookied at the end of that season, just so that Hawthorn could create another a spot on the list there, which was fine. It was basically getting demoted onto a rookie list, which is okay. I was going to be out for 10 to 12 months, so it didn't really matter. But then I got back 2016 July, tore my plantar fascia in my right foot.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, everything was not going to plan there. But again, which was, funnily enough, look, if you put enough time into it and if you believe it enough, I came back almost just as good, if not better, after that third reco in the midfield, because I just had a greater understanding, one, of my body, so recovery, all that sort of stuff. Two, I'd spent a few years in the system already, and I understood what sort of player I wanted to be as well. So when I came back, I very much picked up where I left off, and then I was parked for the rest of the season because I had a bit of an incident at Sandringham where I think clashed knees with someone. So it was only a couple of games left in the season, so there was no point. But unfortunately, as you guys would understand, AFL is very much a business. So if you were to think about it, a year and a half of footy for 5 years on the list probably isn't a great return on an investment. So I understood that, but hopefully, I think I did leave a lasting impression at Hawthorn in a good sense. So once the call was made to be delisted, it was very amicable. There was a lot of hugs and really good understanding.
It's really amazing how many people that I've spoken to know your name, despite just playing 2 games. Alex Woodward, he's that guy with like the amazing story of resilience, because like most people wouldn't know many 2 gamers, but lots and lots of people know you because of this resilient story. So it's pretty amazing, I reckon. Yeah,
like I said, it's good that I've left a lasting impression. Again, would I have left that impression if I was elsewhere, played 90 games? Maybe not. And it's a lot of those experiences, being in rehab, having those injuries, needing to fight back, have held me in good stead with everyday living as well. So I'll take the same approach with how I take each day, with how I work, and hopefully, it can impact others around me as well.
So we'll jump ahead to 2018, and you get the call to be the runner at Collingwood, and I think you've spoken about it a little bit about on your blog and how it's really reinvigorated your love of the game. Tell us how much it meant to you to step out onto an AFL field again, even just as a runner, not as a player.
Huge club too.
Yeah, amazing. So my time at Collingwood was a little bit different. So I obviously got delisted and then chose Collingwood VFL 2017. Lasted only a couple of rounds and had another 4th reco. So I very much lost my love for the game. And it was probably at that point where, the beacon of positivity was lost a little bit. I was a bit sick of it. And I just needed to reset, very much so. So I took a different approach to that rehab, where returning to footy wasn't a focal point, wasn't a focus at all. It was more or less I wanted to go to Canada and snowboard. So for the first 6 months of my rehab,
that was the goal.
That was the goal. So I said I'd buy into rehab at VFL level, which is very different because you've got to work a 9 to 5 and then do rehab after. It was just focusing on balance and that sort of stuff because I wanted to snowboard. I really didn't care about footy. And then, after I got back from Canada, successful snowboarding trip, which was fantastic. I was on my ass half the time, but then
first time,
first time. Then learnt how to do it, and then I was half decent at it, which was great. And then got back, got this offer from the Collingwood AFL team, which I said yes to in an absolute heartbeat. Being the runner, I felt like it was the second closest thing to playing an AFL game every week. So I couldn't necessarily have a kick, but I was also recovering from my 4th ACL anyway. So look, a lot of kilometres in the legs. Being out there was going to help my communication, leadership skills as well, because I was still part of the VFL team. And then just to enjoy myself being out on an AFL field. Once upon a time felt so distant, being in rehab for so long, then being delisted. I was very, very grateful for the opportunity, and I developed my love for the game again. Just being out there, 2018 was really successful for Collingwood. Now that we compare the seasons in terms of how they've gone before that and even after that now, I'm really grateful that I was a part of that. And the boys were having fun, and I was having just as much fun as well.
Goes past to say before Alex and after Alex, making grand finals with Alex as runner, and
if you do the maths, I'm sure people will focus on other things, but I was happy to be a part of that season.
Nerves going into that grand final, you're not playing, but on the field, having kind of big influence on the game. Nerves going into it?
Yeah, heaps of nerves. And I was embracing it though, because I just loved it, and I'd been a part of grand finals before, but I was in the stands, so I've sort of been there, but definitely not out on the field, but had an understanding of what the players would be like in the lead up, the nerves that they would probably be feeling as well. But yeah, look, I felt like I did my running job really, really well throughout that season. Then I returned to playing VFL, played some really strong footy there. And then, got the call up for the final series, and luckily enough, Collingwood went through to the grand final. Look, I had a little incident there, but that was pretty rare and something that I couldn't really help. And look, it's something I wasn't prepared for either. So everything happens for a reason. But again, it was probably one of those challenges that makes me a better person today. That was probably that moment. Obviously, with the Jaden Stevenson thing and the kick inside or defensive 50, it was probably one of the hardest things I've had to endure in my footy career, which was funny because I wasn't in a playing sense at all.
I think one of the most iconic images from that grand final had to be Bucks consoling you out of the game. I think that sort of says the quality of person he is and helping you out in that time of need. And it's even like just emotional thinking about it. And it must have just been so tough, the amount of stuff, like online people like hiding behind their phones, their keyboard. It was just horrible what you had to endure.
Yeah, and I think, we talk about mental health and the impact of that a lot these days. And look, I probably wasn't prepared for the onslaught afterwards.
Yeah.
It was, look,
I don't think anybody could.
Yeah, look, I didn't do it on purpose, and I didn't know it was going to happen. I thought I positioned myself quite well on the ground to deliver the messages that I needed to do. Didn't think that kick was going to come in board. But look, footy is a really unpredictable game. It was just unfortunate that I was in that position. But yeah, the onslaught was very much immediate afterwards, and I think even the commentary during the game might have been a little tough as well because, I think your first initial instinct or reaction would always be, yep, that's been impacted by the runner, and then you do the maths, they've lost by 4 or 5 points, and what ifs start to happen. And look, I can understand people emotionally reacting and wanting an outlet. But yeah, I think I've mentioned before the impact of that was quite huge, and no one could make me feel worse than myself at the time. So for people to pile on and kick me whilst I was down was a little bit hard. And look, it took me a few weeks, but I'm a better person for it now. And now that I've openly spoken about it as well on open mic, I think that gave a lot of people a really good insight into, hang on, this guy is human, which I touched on before. And, he's just not a subject in a pink jumper running around trying to stuff up a footy game. I was just as much a part of that team as the coaches, as the players, and something that I really embraced and was passionate about. So I was just more disappointed on the fact that we lost, and then obviously a lot of people blame me as well.
And this might be a bit of a silly question. Obviously, you're not like a full-time runner; it's not your day job. So, do you have any coaching about like where to be, or is it just like you like get away from the ball, don't get in the way, do you kind of receive certain positions to be in from more qualified runners maybe?
That's a really good question. I felt like being a runner was, I did it for a few rounds and throughout the final series that season. There's no guideline on how to run, you know what I mean? But there is a guideline on staying away from the footy and timing and just making sure that you're on and off the field in a really good, efficient way. But yeah, like I said, I thought I was in a pretty good position to deliver a message that I needed to, and I just wasn't ready for what was to happen.
And I guess now going forward after that, so in 2019, unfortunately, again, you're starting to play some solid footy for Collingwood. You were the captain of their VFL team and go down again with another 5th ACL, which is the final one. And so now you're done with footy, you're not playing anymore. What are you doing in 2021? You said you're busy with your business, you're doing a little bit of coaching. I'm interested to catch up with what you're doing now. Yeah.
I think, that 2019 season with the Collingwood VFL was a flattering one. I'd never been a captain of a VFL team, was captain of a TAC team, but obviously VFL, you're dealing with men and with ambitions and really, really high goals of players wanting to be drafted, wanting to win VFL premierships, so on and so forth. Really happy with how my career ended, so to speak, even though I went down with another ACL injury. It was a fitting way to go out in a way that, also was captain of that VFL Team of the Year, which is really nice and something that I hang my hat on quite proudly. But I put everything into that season. I wasn't a perfect captain, but I tried to use the skills that I was developing throughout my AFL, VFL career and had developed, with the exposure to so many great players and so many great environments and renowned footy clubs. I was pretty lucky to have that mantle as the VFL captain and look to retire on a 5th ACL. It was funny in a way, but I was very much done with playing footy if that was the case, and I wanted to move on to bigger and better things outside of footy. I'd started a mortgage broking business, and look, I help people buy homes, and that's something
Achieve their dreams.
Exactly right. So I like to think I'm a pretty empathetic person, really relatable and easy to approach too. So if I can help them achieve that goal, I'm pretty happy with how my life's going. So there's worse things than 5 ACLs, but I'm happy with where I stand and the business is going well. Look, it's still in its infancy, but trending upwards, which is nice.
Yeah, that's great, man. But I wish we could talk to you about some more stuff. I've got one little final question before we get to our fun last little segment. It's a question we always ask the guests we have. Do you have a life philosophy that's kind of, or mantra or quote or anything that kind of guides you and the decisions you make throughout your life? Obviously, so many kind of ups and downs throughout your life. Has you got a life philosophy that's guided you through that?
Yeah, I suppose if we're harping on about the positivity, I was always a big believer in life having moments of impact, and obviously I've had that in more ways than one, and so has everyone else. And look, it develops you into the person that you are today, and then it's just a matter of finding the silver lining in tough situations. There's always a way out, or there's always a better option. So they're sort of things that I focus on, and look, if anyone else wants to take that, then fantastic. But I'm sort of going to always have that mantra to live by.
Yeah, that's great stuff. I hope lots of people can take that on board listening at home or wherever they're listening. But now, Lockie, for our final segment, Lockie loves this bit.
I don't know if I do.
He's very excited, I can say.
I don't know if I do. I haven't got a great record in the quiz, but...
The quiz.
The quiz. Okay, now, sorry, Lockie's given away what it is. Of course, it's a quiz. So I'm going to be pitting you, Lockie, against you, Alex. So I've got 5 questions. All of them have something that's kind of got a connection to you and your career in it.
Very loosely.
Yeah, very, very, very loosely. So it's a bit of general knowledge, kind of. But your name's your buzzer, so just buzz in with Alex or Lockie. And, of course, we'll start with question 1. On June 11, 2009, I did this a while ago. Can't actually remember how June 11 relates to a career. But anyway, it's some kind of June 11.
It's your birthday?
That's my birthday.
It's your birthday. There you go. It's your birthday. Okay. June 11, 2009, the WHO, the World Health Organization, declared what illness to be a global pandemic?
Lockie? Swine flu.
Spot on.
I'm pretty happy that I didn't get that right.
Yeah.
I remember
On
that
my
back
birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, 2009.
Exactly.
Swine flu.
16 years old. Congratulations.
The best birthday present I ever got was danger signed on at Geelong in 2015.
Yeah. It was the first global pandemic declared in over 40
Unlucky.
years.
Ooh.
So, of course, we've had
you go.
some more since then. Everyone will
Glad
probably
there's
know
a
about.
vaccine for that one.
What were you doing for your birthday in 2009? What would that have been?
16th?
16th. I actually do. I think I was interstate nationals, which was good. And then obviously read the news that there was swine flu.
Eventful day, hey. Anyway, we'll go to question 2. Ben Stiller voiced which character in the Madagascar film series?
Alex Lyon.
Spot on.
Dang. I am a movie
Level
person.
it
I
up.
love movies.
Oh, I love Madagascar.
An old
Good
classic.
flip.
Yeah, we love it. Now, for question 3. So, of course, going to your last name, first syllable of your last name, of course, Wood. So I've got a question about Wood.
Oh, here we go.
So, gathering data from its network of 500 member organisations, Botanical Gardens Conservation International compiled a list of the world tree species. This is multiple choice. According to their list, how many species of trees are there in the world? Is it A, 665, B, 6,065, C, 60,065, or D, 600,065?
Lockie, 600,000.
It's incorrect, Alex.
C, I reckon.
60,065 is absolutely spot on. He's got it correct.
Wow, I knew you.
I know my wood.
He knows his way around Bunnings. He knows.
Yeah, exactly. He'd be good mates with Denver Granger Barris, I think. We'll go to question 4. So, of course, your birthday, June 11. I know that now. I've remembered that. So, on your exact birthday, June 11, 1993, that was round 10 of the AFL season. North Melbourne were on top of the ladder. So, which 22-year-old, who is still involved in the game actually, had 36 goals at that time for North and led their end-of-season goal kicking with 75 goals?
Lockie in 1992.
93.
93. Ooh. And still involved in the AFL.
Still involved in the AFL in some form.
When was Wayne Carey?
Yeah.
Wayne Carey?
Be Wayne, wouldn't it?
Who wants to go with Wayne Carey? Which one of you?
Go Lockie.
Lockie? Wayne Carey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
Who is it? Corey McKernan?
Oh, yeah.
Alex has got a guess.
1993. And what was the last bit of that question again? 30 goals at the time?
75 goals by the end of the season, 36 goals at the time.
Wasn't, wouldn't be.
North had lots of big goal kickers this year.
Longmuir.
I'll give it to you, John Longmire.
Longmire, sorry.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. Not just Longmire, the Freo coach. John Longmire, the Sydney coach. So he's gone.
I told you I was
3-1 up.
My old man was from Freo, so.
Yeah. Question 5. Alex is 2 points up, but Lockie's still got a chance because question 5 is a who am I question.
Who am I?
Going to go down from 5 points all the way down to 1 point with a series of clues, all leading to who I am. And of course, once you get it wrong, you can't buzz in again until the other person gets it wrong. So we'll start with a 5-point clue.
Let's do it.
I was born on the 26th of July 1980, which was exactly 34 years before your debut, in a nation of 4.9 million people. Born in 1980, a nation of 4.9 million people. I'll move it on.
That narrows it down.
Yeah. Move it on to the 4-point clue. The daughter of a police officer and school cook, I took 6 weeks off work after giving birth to my own daughter.
Mate, nah.
Move it on? Okay.
Yes.
For 3 points. Lockie's got to get here to win it outright. I've been to over 19 countries in my life, and after being elected president of the International Union of Socialist Youth in early 2008, spent time in places such as Jordan, Israel, Algeria, and China.
Mate, you've lost me when I heard you, and
I've got a globetrotter.
I've got no idea.
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a quiz.
I can move to 2 points. So
Move to 2 points. I'll just equalise it.
We'll go to
the
a tiebreaker.
equaliser.
A quick tiebreaker if you get it here.
Going to OT.
For 2 points. I graduated from the University of Waikato in 2001 with a Bachelor of Communication.
It would have to be Jacinta Ardern.
He's got it.
Well done. Can confirm Jacinta Ardern came from the same town as my mum. There you go.
There you go.
Little Moran's
There it is.
a town of like 2,000.
You should have got it at 5 points then.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get her on the podcast. It's 3-3. We're going to have to go to a tiebreaker. This is only the second or third time this has happened.
Ever.
Got to think of a tiebreaker question. So
Maybe not another who am I? I struggle with that one.
Only person from New Zealand I can name, I reckon. Her or Brendan McCullum, and I thought Brendan McCullum probably hasn't.
Yeah. Probably doesn't give birth to his own child. Yeah. That eliminates him.
okay, I'll try to find something. I haven't got anything prepared, which
Like Alex gave birth to her own child, not like gave birth to her own child. Like, what else would it be?
Not Brendan McCullum.
I've got one. I'm just looking up what the answer is to it.
If you don't know, I won't.
I'm just going to do it closest to the pin, so someone has to get it. If this website loads, sorry guys, we'll cut this out. It's not great podcasting content.
Let's do how old are your Vans? Closest to the pin.
How old are you, man?
Okay, so 11th of June, 1993, your birthday, of course. So just closest to the pin, great day, monumental day. What was the population of the world on the 11th of June, 1993?
I think you've done one like this before.
I think I've done the current population, but I haven't done this exact one.
Oh. Well, current population's over 4 billion currently.
He can't help.
It's a closest opinion, so you both get a shot.
Yeah. So maybe, let's say 2.2.
Like current
2.2 billion?
population, I reckon 7 billion. So I'll just lock in 7 billion. It might have gone up a bit more from there.
Oh, I'm way off.
Lockie's closest because it's 5.4 billion.
Jesus.
Yeah, and you're right, it is 7 billion. So Lockie, another comeback
Will
from
just
Lockie.
really rammed it up last few decades have just rammed it up.
Yeah, Lockie's won it. Another great comeback from you.
Well done,
Lockie.
Lockie.
Well done, mate. He's won
Very good.
4-3. Very good stuff. Round of applause. Great achievement. Anything else, Lockie, for him before we let him go?
Just thanks so much for coming on, Alex. It was an absolute pleasure. Well worth the wait.
All right, easy. Thanks, guys. Loved it.
Thanks so much for that, Alex. I got a lot out of that, and I'm sure our listeners too. It was an absolutely unbelievable story. And just quickly, we'll plug Alex's business, which is Fortitude Finance, helping deal with home loans, investment loans, and debt consolidation. Harps, do you have anything else to add?
Guys, go check him out. If you're interested in any of the stuff that Lockie mentioned, check him out. Check Alex out at morefortitude.com, and that's Fortitude with the number 4. So that's MORE. The number 4, TITUDE.com. Check him out. Fortitude Finance, Alex Woodward.
Great business. And of course, we'd just like to thank our listeners for sticking around. We'll have another episode next week, and we actually love and appreciate your support.
Yeah, love it. Love Alex for coming on. It's really great to hear his story. I hope you guys all enjoyed it as well. In the meantime, go give us a review on Podchaser or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get the podcast. 5 stars, please, would be very nice. That'll be very grateful for that. Check us out on social media, WDWB Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And where do we begin? On Facebook. New episode next Monday. It'll be good. Lockie, anything else?
No, just like to say thanks to Alex and thanks to the listeners again.
Thank you for listening. See you next week.